Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo has attributed the recent jailbreak at the Federal Correctional Centre in Koton Karfe, Kogi State, to negligence by prison officers, ruling out any external attack. Speaking during an interview on Thursday, Tunji-Ojo clarified that the breach, which led to the escape of 12 inmates in the early hours of Monday, was an internal security failure rather than an orchestrated assault on the facility. It was an insider issue. No walls were breached. Nothing external, the minister stated. This was due to negligence on the part of some of our officers, and we are addressing it administratively. It will be recorded that the jailbreak occurred when inmates tampered with padlocks in one section of the facility, enabling 12 prisoners to flee. Senior Correctional Assistant Shebu David lost his life while attempting to prevent an inmate escape at the medium security custodial center in Koton Karfe, Kogi State on Monday. Okay, let's get your thoughts on this, Mr. George. You were aware about the Kogi jailbreak that happened on Monday, and the minister also made a statement concerning it, condemned it, and they had to recapture most of the fleed inmates, about 7 at the time, but they said they recovered all of them. I really don't know how they did the magic. Congrats to them on that. Coming back to say now that he's blaming the warders for the jailbreak, we will not rule out the part that a life was also taken in that instance. How do we look at this instance from the government that is supposed to protect lives and property? Is this supposed to be a statement that should be said from a minister?
Well, I also join to condemn, because we're used to condemning things when they happen, especially negative things. We condemn it, and after that, what next? The question is, an issue like this, jailbreak, and prisoners were led escaped. Of course, there's an internal failure, but the question is, how do we ensure there are checks and balances in the system to ensure that we prevent further jailbreaks? Because what is the what fact or what's the evidence that there will be no future jailbreaks? What mechanism have we put in place to ensure we prevent future jailbreaks? How did it happen? Was there a leak? Was there a collaboration between the prison warders and the prisoners? Was there some corruption? Was there some collaboration? There needs to be proper check. One of the recommendations I would like to make in terms of this is that technology is playing a vital role in terms of security, and we need to embrace technology. If you go to most of our police stations, they are still operating in the manual way. Yes, you take there should be CCTV cameras. Our prisons should not be death sentence zones. Our prisons should be rehabilitation zones. If you look at the conditions of the prisons, you don't need a rocket scientist to tell you that there's a lot of reforms that need to take place in our prisons. Right? A prison that's supposed to that has a capacity to accommodate 200 prisoners will be accommodating 500 prisoners. The people are just jammed in. There's no ventilation. There's no anything. They're just living in a very dehumanizing condition, and very, very terrible conditions they are living in. Are you actually trying to reform these people, or you're making them more hardened criminals? Right? So prison reforms will ensure a lot of changes that needs to take place. The infrastructure of the prisons, maintenance culture. It's not just the prisons, generally. Poor maintenance culture. Incorporating technology. Technology cannot totally solve all our security problems, but application of technology in our security, especially our prisons, will help cut down a huge amount of these issues. Because, for example, if you have CCTV cameras, you can easily help an investigator to check, get more evidence. That is one of the ways you collect evidence, collection of evidence, visual evidence now. It will help them in their investigation to speed up the investigation and get facts. So I think these changes should be put in place. But in the aspect of just condemning it, we've heard it for a long time. Anytime something bad happens, a minister, a governor, a president, we condemn. After condemnation, what next? We should reform our prison sector.
All right. Thank you so much on that, Mr. Judge. I want to get your thoughts on this, what you make of the situation, Mr. Ndamzi.
Yes, thank you. I would like to react by saying, firstly, the minister of interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, has attributed the recent jailbreak at the Federal Correctional Centre in Koton Karfe, Kogi State, to negligence by prison officers, ruling out any external attack. what are the measures government have put in place for criminal justice? Like my brother here posited about, their condition, the technology to deploy and all that. That's part of criminal justice system. The criminals, I call them criminals because some have already been convicted. They are convicts. The convicts at that point, they are no more criminals. The convicts at that point, and those who are on awaiting trial, okay, they still have, human rights. Of course, for the fact that they have been convicted or some are incarcerated, their movement is being curtailed, does not mean that the law have, stripped them completely of their human rights. Yes, they are only locked up. You can see at that point their right to Section 41, which gives them right to freedom of movement, to move freely in any part of Nigeria, have been curtailed. But you can't take away their right to life. You can't take away their right to freedom of speech. You can't do that, and you can't deny them good upbringing, good keeping. Okay, you must feed them well, but they don't feed them well. You have them overcrowded in smaller compartments. That is abuse. So when a convict is serving out a jail term in that harsh situation, and he or she knows that he has about 5 years, 6 years to do, and there are options of escape instead of remaining there and get fixed, because ordinarily the idea of incarceration should not just be punishment.
True.
The idea is punish to deter others from indulging and also correct, so that by the time they serve out their jail term, they can reintegrate properly into the society and become responsible citizens.
So why do you think we've not gotten to that point?
The reason we have not gotten to that point is because we have just decided in this country to play politics with everything. Nobody is giving leadership anymore. That's the truth. We need to own up the truth.
So we've lost the leadership station.
Yeah, that's the truth. Nobody is giving leadership anymore. I want to look at the comment of the minister. That's very premature. That's very premature to come up with a statement while the investigators have not concluded their findings. They have not. In that situation, we will find a forensic expert investigating, because definitely logs were touched. We need to know, to unravel whether warders are complicit or not. There should be forensic analysis. There should be fingerprint collections. There should be other samples collection to merge. Also test the fingers of those who escaped, who were rearrested. There should be sample collection to check if there are mergers. With that, you'll be able to know, how did the key pass? Did the warder pass on the key, since the statement said there were no breach? So a thorough investigation need to go before a public statement. The minister would have just ordinarily tell Nigerians, oh, this has happened, we regret this action, that investigation is ongoing. In due time, Nigerians will be briefed on what actually happened. This is giving leadership. They have failed to give leadership. They have failed to allow criminal justice run properly. They have dehumanized the prisoners in there. There are lots of sicknesses and diseases out there killing them. Infections out there. Malnutrition. They are being kept in a slum instead of a correctional facility. So why do we think there won't be attempts to escape?
Okay, that was why I asked the first question of, is this statement supposed to come from a minister? I know I had to, the life of a human being is very important. That was why I had to talk about this assistant officer that lost his life while he was trying to hold this prisons back from escaping. That one is on the side. Let's look at if the federal government has it in mind to aid most of these questions that you people have raised, do you think this statement will come up over this incident. And because if you check from the statements that he made, the measures were not put in place on what is the way forward in this. There were no sympathetic statements, if I may say, in that instance. So when we get statements like this, is there a guarantee that something will be done at correctional centers to make it a better place? I just want to get it right here. Please, I want to get your thoughts on this.
Well, they have to walk the talk. You know, talk is cheap, but you have to walk the talk. That's how you build confidence. If you want to be trusted as a leader, then you have to walk the talk and implement what you're saying.
So how about when the talk is contrary to what you are supposed to do? Like you made mention of measures that should be put in place. And the measures were instated here by the minister. Instead, he condemned. So when someone is already condemning, is there a possibility that that person is ready to do something right in an instance, in a situation like this? So also this situation will not reoccur.
If there is a political will, they can make it right. You see, the problem is that these things have been happening and they're not addressing the issues. And so it is growing bigger because an untreated crisis produces more crisis. So this case of this prison outbreak now can serve as a good example of leadership that works if they have the political will to make it work. How? Carry out a thorough investigation. Look at the underlying issues that is affecting prisons, not just in that particular state, but across the country. Come up with a report. Most times they have these reports, they set up a commission, and at the end of the day, the report is not implemented, it's swept somewhere. Come up with a report, use it as a measure to address, don't wait for other prison outbreaks. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because there is already there could be some situations that could birth other prison outbreaks, like poor conditions in the prisons. It's a natural stimulant for these prison outbreaks to happen because people want to be free because they are in prison, but they are in prison inside the prison. So they want some form of freedom, even though they are in prison. I am not supporting any form of prison outbreak, but we are looking at the way forward to prevent future prison outbreaks in Nigeria. Use this as a bold example of leadership that work. After a thorough investigation, come up with a report, visit other prisons. There should be a commission that should pay visit to other prisons. Check what is the conditions here. How can we improve these prisons? How do we ensure that the prison justice reform is implemented so that we can build a prison system that works?
Thank you so much on that, gentlemen. Well, aside the reforms that you've mentioned, I think there should be a reintegration, a mental reintegration on the warders, the treatments they put on these prison warders. Just like you stated, someone that's in prison that is in prison. I don't know how you put that word together.
Yeah, they're in prison, but they're inside the prison. There are many prisons right where they are. Yes, I'll quickly add to it on the mental health aspect, which I'm very, very passionate about. This mental health is very important, and not just for the prisoners, but also for the prison warders, and also for those who are in the security agencies. They need to pay attention to mental health because most of them are going through a lot of mental health issues.
So they in turns get to transfer
exactly.